Motion for approval.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the minutes for the San Juan County Council meeting of August 18th, 2020.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the minutes for August 18, 2020. Any comments or questions?
Nope.
Seeing all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Very much. You both had an opportunity to look at the consent agenda.
Yes.
Yes.
Not any questions. I'd entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda for the San Juan County Council meeting of Tuesday, August 25th, 2020.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, August 25th, 2020. Are there any questions or comments? Without seeing all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries 3-0. Thank you very much. We now have, so Mr. Stevens, I put the next item on here. It was forwarded by the Friends of the San Juans. It's a letter to the governor regarding Robert Banks Terminal 2 construction. I don't mean for it to be approved necessarily today. I just wanted to have a discussion about it. And since we may not meet for a couple weeks, I didn't know if council had any thoughts about this. And obviously this is, you've spent a lot more time in sort of this effort. I don't know if we want to do anything with this, if you would consider wanting to approve their letter. Would like some direction or suggestions from Ms. Stevens.
You know, it's fine. This has been going on, and like all the tribes around here have voiced their objection to it. So if we want to approve it, it's fine with me.
Mr. Watson?
I don't really have strong opinions in either direction.
I did speak to the chair of Islands Trust yesterday, and they've been in opposition for this for a long time. And I mentioned that we were considering this, and at some point they may want to, maybe not in this specific issue, but if this continues, to look at kind of a dual sponsorship of a letter in the future. So I leave it up to council. I mean, I don't have a problem with the letter. Entertain a motion if there's interest. If not, we can move on. Just wanted it to be addressed.
I move that we approve the letter, the correspondence as shown, and join the signatures.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve a letter and join as a signator to a letter to the governor regarding Robert Banks Terminal 2 construction. Any comments or questions? Without seeing all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you very much. The next item we have is a proclamation celebrating 100 years of votes for women for August 26th, which will be tomorrow. Sorry, council, I will read. Well, I guess we should. Let me read it and then we'll take a vote, if that's all right. Celebrating votes for women. DAR promotes the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment Proclamation designating August 26, 2020 as the Women's Equality Day. Whereas on Women's Equality Day, we commemorate the ratification of the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, which secured for women the right to vote. The anniversary of this milestone is an appropriate time to reflect on the remarkable accomplishments of women in every facet of American life. It is also an opportunity to honor women for their leadership and service to their families, their communities, and their nation. In the spirit of the 19th Amendment, we must continue to seek an environment of opportunity for all women. Today we celebrate the passion and unwavering dedication of the women who struggled and persevered in the fight for suffrage, and we recognize the countless ways that women strengthen the fabric of the nation. We all benefit from leadership and ingenuity of women in education, medicine, government, law, business, military service, and every other field, contributing to the greatness of this nation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the San Juan County Council recognizes the commemoration on August 26, 1920, on which women of America won their right to vote, as an opportunity to continue the work for equal rights for all citizens, proclaimed the 25th day of August 2020. I entertain a motion for approval of this proclamation.
I move approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of a proclamation celebrating votes for women. Any other comments?
Nope.
Nope.
Outstanding. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. And Ingrid, thank you for bringing this forward. I think it's really important that we recognize this day in our county and also around the country. So thank you very much. All right, so at this point, I have one letter, and I really think it's an addition to the tip. And Ingrid, who is it from again?
We received that from Dave Zaretsky.
So we have a letter from Dave Zaretsky in support of the Old Military Road Trail Committee to be added to the San Juan County tip. All right, so we have, looks like 4 or 3 potential people online. Mr. Gomez, I'm going to start with you, unmute you. Would you have any public comment today? Or are you just listening?
Morning, Rick. Just listening. Thank you.
Great, thank you. The next one I have is Mike Ramsey. Mike Ramsey, if you'd like to provide public comment, this is your opportunity for 3 minutes. All right, I will come back. The next person is Nancy Miller. Nancy, would you have any public comment?
No, I was supposed to join for the proclamation. Have you already done that? Apparently, I was not able to join by Skype.
Oh, my apologies. Yes, we just did that. Would you like a few minutes to discuss? We just approved it and read it.
Oh, okay, thank you. No, I was waiting for you to come up on my Skype, and so I gave up and called in. But thank you very much for reading the proclamation. I appreciate that.
Oh, my! I guess thank you very much for the kind words, and I apologize. I did not realize you wanted to speak. So thank you. It's an honor to support it today. Thank you for bringing it forward.
All right. Thanks. Have a great rest of the meeting.
Thank you.
Bye.
Chief Collins, I have you on the line. Are you interested in providing public comment at this point?
I am open. If you wanted to cover the fire district piece now or whenever that comes up, that would be great.
All right. Why don't, if you don't mind, we have it towards the end of the day. We could, if you don't want to participate in the meeting for the rest of it, we can give you a call when we get closer to it, or you're more than welcome to listen. If you'd like to provide comment at that point, we would be more than willing to accommodate you.
If you don't mind giving me a call, that would be great. I'll stay on and listen as well, but a call would be fantastic.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So Ingrid, if we could remember to call the chief somewhere around, we get to item 10. Chief, do you have your number? Or is that something you can email me?
Either way, I can email it to you. That's just as easy.
Okay, Rick H at sanjuanco.com.
Will do. You'll have it shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And the last person for public comment is Sheila Gekwin. Sheila, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am.
You have 3 minutes if you'd like, or if you're just listening, let me know.
I'm just listening, Rick, and if there were any questions about our docket submission, just to be available.
Okay, great. I will, and you're calling on behalf of Deer Harbor Planning and Review Committee, correct?
Correct.
All right, well, when we get to that section for today, if there's any questions, I will reach out.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Sheila. Right, so for the record, if there's anyone else who would like to provide public comment, please speak now. And again, our public comment phone number is 360-370-0599, and the password is 441250#. Again, does anyone else like to provide public comment? All right, thank you very much. We will move on. We have 4 minutes. Mr. Stevens and Mr. Watson, while we wait for the public hearing, is there anything you'd like to bring forward or discuss, or we could recess for a few minutes?
I don't have anything.
I was just on a call. I have one thing. I was on a call this morning, and I know Kyle, Dodd, and Tara are working on our CARES spending recap, but Association of Counties working hard on the governor's office to release the remaining $240 million to cities and counties under 500,000, and right now it sounds like 62 million will go to local health jurisdictions and 130 million to cities and counties. It's important though we get our plans in. Some of the smaller jurisdictions haven't even signed their initial contracts, so the legislators have been saying, what's the rush? Some people haven't even signed their contracts. And obviously the rest of us you can't get the money here fast enough. So I just thought I'd update you on that.
Thank you very much. Also, Ms. Stevens, thank you for attending the Swiss program. I look forward to that update later on today. I also wanted to let you know that I might have, there's 2 Swiss programs, and I want to make sure that you're aware of both of them. One is for Park and Rec divisions.
Right.
And one is the meeting you attended. So I just want to make sure that you're aware of both of them. And that was my confusion for not joining that meeting. So thank you for stepping up and being willing to be on that committee. If there's anything I can do to help you with, just let me know.
Okay.
But thank you for filling in and doing all the work. All right, well, we will not pause, Ingrid, but we will, unless there's anything else. Mike, do you have anything for us for 2 minutes? All right.
Mr. Chair.
Hello, Mike.
Now that I'm unmuted, just to let you know that James Wolf and I have a hard stop at 3 p.m. today.
Okay, thank you very much. And we have a pretty full agenda. Council, is 3 o'clock okay, or do you have any other conflicts later on today?
No, that's fine with me. I'm looking forward to the chair keeping the meeting moving.
I agree.
Thank you for your enthusiastic support. Skills, Mr. Stevens. Always a pleasure. And I will do my best to hold it as fast as possible. And as an aside, Mr. Stevens, I will be very quiet and be very supportive of the first public hearing. All right, so for the public, we're going to wait 30 seconds and then we'll start our public hearing. 15. Thank you very much. All right, thank you for the brief pause. It is now 9:15. We will be opening up several public hearings with public testimony accepted. The first public hearing is to adopt an ordinance regulating marijuana production and processing facilities, amending San Juan County Code 18.20.130, 18.30.30, 1830.40, 1830.460, and adding new sections. Adam Zach, Planner 3. Adam, are you? I see you.
Yeah, I'm here. Let me share my screen.
Thank you very much.
All right. So, good morning. Today, I'll brief you on the draft ordinance adopting new marijuana production and processing regulations. As you know, the county has had a moratorium on new permits for marijuana production and processing operations since April of 2019. The moratorium was enacted to allow the county time to adopt new performance standards for marijuana production and processing, and it was last renewed for 6 months in March of this year. The moratorium will need to be extended if new regulations are not adopted by September 24th, but we are on track to adopt those regulations before the moratorium expires, so we shouldn't have to renew it. The draft ordinance before you today will amend San Juan County Code sections and add some new sections for production and processing performance standards. The procedural requirements for adopting a code change have been met. Our required 60-day notice of amendment was sent to the Department of Commerce on March 31st. Our SIPA determination of non-significance was issued on April 1st, and no comments on the SIPA determination were received during the comment period. The draft before you today was reviewed as to form by the prosecuting attorney's office. So last week I transmitted a memo following up on 3 issues that you highlighted at the meeting on August 11th. First, Mr. Hughes requested an amendment to clarify that lighting must be directed away from the shorelines. And this can be integrated into the performance standards in Ordinance Section 7, as shown in that memo from last week. And second, Mr. Watson wanted to make sure that we are only defining marijuana as not an agricultural product within the context of Title 18 San Juan County Code. The draft ordinance already specified this in Section 5, so no additional action on that front is required. And then finally, Mr. Stevens requested that the regulations for the Lopez Village UGA be clarified. And this will require a new section to amend the land use table for Lopez Village in San Juan County Code 1830.750. We'll look at this in more detail a little later in the presentation. The draft ordinance includes 2 legislative findings on page 3, lines 1 through 8. They're a part of the record that explain why the county adopted the ordinance and what problems the regulations seek to address. For example, finding 2 establishes that the regulations seek to address the impacts on natural resources. And then later, this finding justifies the regulation that prevents new structures from being used for production and processing in our agricultural resources. During our deliberations today, you can make changes to the findings if necessary. Section 1 of the draft ordinance establishes the definitions for marijuana, marijuana processor, and marijuana producer. All of these definitions have come from the state law, and the definitions are the section of the code that clarifies what constitutes the use, so that we know what the regulations apply to. A marijuana processor is a person licensed by the state to process and package marijuana into usable products for sale in licensed retail outlets. A producer is a person licensed by the state to produce and sell marijuana at wholesale to processors and other producers. Section 2 amends San Juan County Code 1830.030, the land use table for activity center land use designations. This table establishes what land use designations allow marijuana production and processing in activity centers such as Westsound on Orcas and Island Center on Lopez and Orcas. The proposed changes differentiate between the 3 tiers of production and processing. And these are the same 3 tiers the state uses when issuing licenses for marijuana production and processing. Tier 1 is less than 2,000 square feet of grow canopy. Tier 2 is between 2,000 and 10,000 square feet. And Tier 3 is from 10,000 up to 30,000 square feet. Under Section 2, Tiers 1 and 2 would be allowed by conditional use permit in Village Industrial, Hamlet Industrial, and Island Center. The only Hamlet Industrial areas in the county are located in Deer Harbor, and there are 2 areas designated Island Center, one on Orcas near the intersection of Crow Valley and West Beach Road, and another at the intersection of Dill and Center Roads on Lopez. Tier 3 is prohibited in all activity center land use designations. 3 footnotes would be added to San Juan County Code 1830.030. Footnote 13 requires that production and processing be conducted indoors. And this is to help offset the odor and visual impacts from the state-required security features. Footnote 14 requires that the operation not exceed the grow canopy licensed by the state. And footnote 15 clarifies that Hamlet Industrial refers to the Deer Harbor Hamlet Industrial designations and establishes that production and processing is prohibited in the Olga Hamlet. Section 3 amends the land use table for rural, resource, and special land use designations. It proposes that tiers 1 and 2 be allowed by conditional use permit in rural general use, rural farm forest, rural industrial, and agricultural resource land. And then here 2, tier 3 is prohibited in all rural, resource, and special land use designations. Section 3 also establishes 3 new footnotes to the land use table in 1830-040. Footnote 15 allows both indoor and outdoor production and processing in rural and resource lands where it's allowed. 16 requires that the canopy not exceed the tier licensed by the state, and 17 limits processing to only take place if it supports an on-site production in rural farm forest and agricultural resource land. This will prevent the siting of processing and operations in farmlands unless they are directly involved in the production of marijuana. Footnote 18 establishes minimum lot sizes for production and processing. For Tier 1, the minimum lot size is 1 acre in rural general use and rural industrial. It's 3 acres in rural farm forest and ag resource. And then for Tier 2, the minimum lot size is 5 acres in rural general use and rural industrial, and 10 acres in rural farm forest and agricultural resource. The minimum lot size is intended to keep the production and processing from taking place on very small platted lots where impacts to neighboring property owners are more likely. Section 4 amends the land use table for the Eastsound subarea. Tiers 1 and 2 are allowed by conditional use permit in Eastsound Village Commercial, Service and Light Industrial, Service Park, and the Country Corner Commercial land use designations. They are prohibited in all other Eastsound land use designations. And this is to prevent production and processing from being established in residential and mixed-use areas within the sub-area. Here too, Tier 3 is prohibited in all Eastsound land use designations. Section 4 establishes a new footnote. It specifies that production and processing in the sub-area must be done indoors and cannot exceed the tier licensed by the state. And here's where we get to an optional new section that was outlined in the staff report dated August 20th for the Lopez Village urban growth area. We can further clarify what's allowed in the Lopez Village by amending the table in 1830-750. This change would add a new section to the ordinance, but doesn't substantially change what was proposed in the initial draft. Because it just makes clearer that the initial proposal, or what was outlined in the initial proposal, would be a prohibition on all tiers of production and processing in the Lopez Village UGA. Now we'll take a look at the performance standards in sections 5 through 7 of the draft ordinance. Section 5 establishes general performance standards that apply to all production and processing operations. These standards require that only one state license can be used on any parcel outside of the UGAs, and this will prevent more than one operation being located on the same parcel. The final certificate of occupancy cannot be issued before the state approves a production or processing license. And this section also clarifies that marijuana is not considered an agricultural product within the context of Title 18, meaning that it doesn't get some of the special treatment that agricultural production gets, such as critical area allowances or shoreline allowances. The ordinance specifies that this only relates to Title 18, and just to specify there. And then finally, Section 5 prohibits production and processing of residences, critical areas, critical area buffers, and the shoreline.
Adam?
Yeah.
Real quick, can you go back a slide? The first bullet point that says one state license can be used on parcels outside of the UGA. Is that really Friday Harbor and Eastsound? Because the slide before Lopez Village isn't allowed?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So Section 6 creates standards for siting, production, and processing, specifically in rural and agricultural lands. It only allows indoor production in agricultural resource land to take place in structures that were legally existing on the effective date of the ordinance. And this is intended to prevent the construction of new structures for production and processing in that agricultural resource land, which must be preserved for ag production. It also prohibits the expansion of existing structures in that agricultural resource land. This section requires that both indoor and outdoor production and processing be set back 300 feet from property lines and 500 feet from existing neighboring residences. Section 7 establishes the production and processing performance standards that apply in every land use designation. It requires that lighting be directed away from the neighboring property owners, critical areas, and public roads. And here, shorelines can be added to the list as detailed in that August 20th memo. Type A landscaping is required to provide a visual barrier. And this section also requires that the state mandated security features be installed prior to occupation. And it requires that applicants describe the proposed use of hazardous substances, methods, and equipment in the application and on the site plans. Applicants must comply with water system requirements and waste disposal regulations. And finally, the standards require that applicants muffle fan noise and provides a list of measures to reduce fan noise recommended by the prosecuting attorney's office. In addition to muffling fan noise, applicants must also filter the exhaust air prior to dispersal, and this will help minimize the odor impacts to surrounding property owners. Section 7 requires that odor control system be designed by a licensed engineer. It includes a list of 12 technologies that can help control that odor. And then finally, the standards establish measures to minimize road impacts and caps traffic that can be generated by the operation. 5 trips per day are allowed on private roads, and 6 to 19 trips per day are allowed on public roads. Section I of this authorizes the administrator to recommend permit conditions to address road impacts after consulting with the county engineer. We have not received any public comments on the proposal since you were last briefed on August 11th. Looking at the project, if we move ahead with or if we adopt new regulations by September 24th, we won't need to renew the moratorium on marijuana production and processing. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Stevens?
Yeah, Adam, in regards to the Lopez table, is that something that goes in the subarea plan section, or is that something that's part of this ordinance? How would we incorporate that?
Well, it would just be its own section because it's only a code amendment. We don't have to amend the actual plan document. And so it would just be a new section in the ordinance, similar to how the Eastsound table is being amended.
So we would just vote to add that to this ordinance.
Correct. Yeah, and the recommended motion in the staff report would address that by accepting the changes proposed in that memo.
Okay.
And I do think it's a more clear way of getting at what we're trying to do with that, adding that new section.
Any other questions?
I don't have any.
Mr. Stevens?
Nope, that was it.
Thank you. So, Adam, I have two questions, and I'll make them super quick. So I just want to make sure if or when this is passed, will we be creating any non-conformity because of this?
That's possible. I don't know off the top of my head if the existing operations that are outside of the UGAs, there's a handful of them out there. I don't know if they would meet all the setback requirements.
Is it possible for us to make the existing license at the point of, passing this to be conforming?
Yes, but I'm not sure exactly how we would get there. We might need to take a look at that and then come back, because we want to make sure that we know what we're making non-conforming. And I don't really know exactly how those existing operations may be non-conforming.
My concern would be that if there's still two remaining, I'm not even sure about that yet, that are out in the rural that are tier 2 grow operations, that they might not be 300 feet from the parcel, and they may not be 5 feet from a residence. So I would like to make sure that person isn't, or those businesses aren't stuck in a non-conforming world, if that's at all possible. I don't know what council thinks.
Well, they can continue their operation if it's was already okay. They don't have to change anything. I mean, that's the way all these codes work. Is maybe that's a non-conforming use, but they don't have to shut it down or change anything.
Right. I guess my only concern is that at some point in time, if federally marijuana becomes a legal activity, it might be difficult to sell or finance the property because of its non-conformity.
I disagree with that, and it's proven.
Yeah, Mr. Hughes, that's been argued left and right for every land use regulation that we ever pass. So, non-conformity does not mean that it can't be sold or it's devalued in any way. It just means that it's not up to the latest standard. And, even building codes change over time, and because your house was built 20 years ago doesn't mean you can't sell it today, even though it was built underneath 20-year-old building standards.
Okay, I thought the intention of this was to regulate in the future where we're going with potentially new construction, but that's fine. So I don't have any additional questions. All right, at this point, we will open the public comment section, public testimony of this public hearing to adopt ordinance regulating marijuana production and processing facilities, amending San Juan County Code 18.20.30, 18.30.30, 18.30.40, 18.30.460, and adding new sections as presented by Adam SICC. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to provide public comment? I do not have any written comment via email. Is there anyone who's listening on the phone? Please unmute yourself if you'd like to provide public comment. Again, we are in the public testimony section of the public hearing regarding an ordinance regulating marijuana production. One on the line who is called in who would like to provide public comment regarding this ordinance. Without seeing any, I will close the public testimony section of this public hearing with the right to reopen. At this point, is there any, I'd entertain a motion for approval unless there's questions or comments from council.
I have no questions or comments.
Neither do I.
So, Mr. Chair, I move to adopt an ordinance regulating marijuana production and processing facilities, amending San Juan County Code 18.21.30, 18.30.030, 18.30.040, 18.30.460, and adding new sections with the changes proposed in the staff memo dated August 20th, 2020.
Second.
Mr. Watson, just for clarity, I might have misheard you, but the first code section, I think it's 18.20.130. You may have said 18.21. Is it all right? I heard wrong. Anyway, we have a motion and a second to adopt an ordinance regulating marijuana production and processing facilities, amending San Juan County Code 18.20.130, 18.30.30, 18.30.40, 18.30.460, and adding new sections with the changes proposed in the staff memo dated August 20th, 2020. Any further questions?
Nope.
No.
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Watson, Mr. Stevens, for bringing this forward. And
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
We can cross that one off the list.
Our next public hearing is to adopt a planning commission recommendation on the 2020 docket with Sophia Casson, Planner 1. Sophia, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Just getting the presentation up.
Excellent, thank you.
All right. Good morning, Council. This is Sophia Casson here to talk about the 2020 annual docket. The purpose of this presentation is to review a draft resolution on the docket before the council public hearing. We did have initial briefings on this in June 2020, and then Planning Commission held a public hearing on July 17th, 2020. Council was briefed on the Planning Commission recommendation on July 21st, 2020. Docket is a list of requests for amendments to the comp plan, to the Unified Development Code, and official maps. Through the docket resolution, Council is deciding whether to add the requests to the Department of Community Development Work Plan. The GMA allows any interested party to submit a request once a year. The deadline this year was March 1st, 2020. So Planning Commission held their public hearing on the docket on July 17th. There wasn't any public testimony at that hearing, and the Planning Commission did recommend approval of the docket as recommended by staff. These are the recommendations the Planning Commission decided to forward to Council. Requests 1, 2, 4, and 7 are recommended to be considered during the comp plan update. Requests 3 and 5 were shared with Public Works and are being considered as public comments on the draft transportation element. And then request 6 was recommended to be considered during a critical areas update after the comp plan update. We are recommending a minor change to the draft resolution for request 6. Request 6 was about adding coastal cutthroat trout to the Fish and Wildlife Habitat Conservation Areas, the list of species of local importance. We initially recommended considering this during the next critical areas periodic update after we adopt the comp plan update, but we are now recommending not tying this change to a periodic review, but rather just to add it to the DCD work plan on its own, because the critical areas update doesn't follow a timeline required by the state. So Council and the applicant had asked for clarification on when the critical areas update would happen after the comp plan, and after we looked into it more, we did find that critical areas ordinance doesn't have a set timeline. It's updated just on an as-need basis. And because adding coastal cutthroat trout to the list of species of local importance would only require changes to 2 code sections, DCD is thinking that it could be best just to do this on its own once the comp plan is updated. So the draft ordinance has been updated to reflect this minor change.
Question, Sophia?
Yes.
So is the timing to be done after the plan is updated is a workload issue, not a sequential requirement, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we could do it at any time we wanted to.
We could.
Right, okay, thank you.
Whenever council directed us to do it.
Right, okay, thanks.
Yeah, and that's really all for me. If there are any questions, any more questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll just leave this summary of requests up on the screen for your reference.
Mr. Steve, do you have any questions?
Well, I'm just wondering how we don't lose it on the cutthroat trout.
Right.
Maybe that's where Bill was going to.
Erica, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm here. It definitely is a workload issue for us. And it's like many of the other things that we've had on the docket. They can be on the docket for quite some time before we actually get around to them, depending on what our priorities are. And it really depends on council's priorities for our workload.
So you'll just add it to your pending work list, right?
Yes.
So that's how we don't forget about it, is that Erica's going to remember.
They all stay on a docket list, so we have lists from past dockets, and so they just all end up on that list.
This is Rick. I would like to see this addressed when workload or time is available. This has been on our docket for many years, and I think it's an important thing to consider. So.
Right.
Well, maybe it makes sense to have that conversation as to what's the current docket work list.
We could do that. I think that would be an excellent exercise.
Right.
So, Erica, how much staff time do you think this would take? Or is that not a fair question off the cuff?
I don't know. I need to really look at it again. It's been a while since I looked at it, and it's not so much, I think, the code changes, maybe the backup documentation, which streams and how much documentation we need and how much there is.
Right. Justifying it as a critical species, right?
Well, we map these things also, so it's yeah.
All right. Well, maybe Erica, we can have a conversation with Mike and have this get a better idea of timing in this and bring it back to council. It's just an update at some point before the year's out. Is that all right with council?
Yep.
Yeah. I'd like to sit there and review the entire list of, I'll call it, pending docket items, right? So that we can help maybe Erica with her at least current priorities from the council for that work list.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. One more question to the comment above the coastal cutthroat trout, the port of entry. We just addressed that, I think, or at least discussed it on the transportation element a couple days ago or last week. Is that correct?
That's what I thought.
So, this may already, I think either we took a vote did we just take a vote to remove it, to follow the request, Mr. Stevens?
That's my recollection. When I saw that, I was like, I think we just voted to take that out for Lopez and Orcas.
Right. So, Sophia and Erica, if you guys could follow up on that and just make sure that, I mean, if we've already addressed it, granted it's still on the docket until the transportation element's passed, but I think we removed it, so it should be addressed.
We will double check that.
Okay, great. And then for what would you like, and I'm going to ask for public comment in a second, but what would you like today from council?
Approval.
All right. Any other comments or questions for staff?
Nope.
All right, well, we will at this point go into the public testimony section of this public hearing to adopt Planning Commission's recommendations on the 2020 docket. Is there anyone we have no email regarding this, so is there anyone online who would like to provide public comment? If so, please unmute yourself, and this is an opportunity to speak. Would you like to speak?
So, as a reminder, if you're on the phone, it's *6 to unmute.
Looks like we had a problem with the phone, with the Skype call. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I have no comments to make.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry about that. Is there anyone else who would like to provide public comment at this point? One more time. Is there anyone who would like to provide public comment at this time? Please unmute yourself, and you have 3 minutes. All right, without seeing any, I will close the public testimony, public comment section of this public hearing with the right to reopen. Is there any questions from council to staff? If not, entertain a motion for approval.
I have no questions.
I have a quick one. So in the resolution that's provided us, it still has number 3 and number 5, considering the ports. But it does say no further action required, that it was forwarded to Public Works. So this is just a question for council. Do we need to take that out, or can we just leave it in the way it's worded?
I think we can leave it in since we've already taken care of it, right?
So, Mr. Stevens, to your point, we should probably just mention that we voted to remove it, or the request was accepted and forwarded to Public Works.
I mean, relative to this, right, we took it as a comment to the draft transportation element, and you know, which is what we did. And then we took action on it as a comment to the transportation element, right?
Right. Okay, and no action doesn't require any action in this part.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
At least that's the way I would interpret it.
Entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve a resolution setting a 2020 docket of proposed amendments to the San Juan County Comprehensive Plan and Title 18 of the San Juan County Code as presented by staff.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approval of resolution setting the 2020 docket of proposed amendments to the San Juan County Comprehensive Plan and Title 18 of the San Juan County Code. Any further questions or comments from council?
Nope.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you very much. Our next public hearing is to approve a COVID-19 CDBG CV1 grant application with Ryan Page, Housing Program Coordinator, and Mark Tompkins, Director of Health and Community Services. Ryan, are you on the line?
I'm here.
Excellent.
Thank you. Good morning, Council. The purpose of our public hearing today is to receive public testimony on our proposed activities for our grant application for Community Development Block Grant CV1 grant. So nothing has significantly changed since we spoke to the Council 2 weeks ago to schedule this public hearing. The two main things that additional piece of information is that we have gotten official approval from the town of Friday Harbor to join our consortium and apply together for this grant, which gives us an extra $1,000 incentive. And then we've also attached to the staff report, a funding request worksheet that we will submit with our application, that we are proposing a three-way split of the county funding for the 3 resource centers. So that'd be $11,635 to each resource center, and then we're also splitting that $1,000 bonus 3 ways, so $333. And then the Town of Friday Harbor's allocation is already set by the state, so that will also be provided to the San Juan Island Family Resource Center, and that will be specified as to be only spent by official residents of the Town of Friday Harbor. So everything else is basically the same. We're proposing to use these funds for subsistence payments. That means either rent assistance, mortgage assistance, or utility assistance. We're going to be following CDBG guidelines for their eligible activities, for the eligibility of individuals who can be used for these funds, and for their reporting guidelines. So everything else is basically the same, and if we are to receive council approval today, we basically have the application done and are ready to submit that. This is sort of the last checkbox that we need to check. Happy to answer any questions the council might have.
No questions for me.
No questions for me.
And none for me. Thank you very much. At this point, we will open our public testimony, public comment section of this public hearing to adopt COVID-19 CDBG CV1 grant application. Is there anyone, I again have no email correspondence regarding this public hearing. Is there anyone on the line who would like to provide public comment or have public access? You have 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and begin speaking. Again, is there anyone who has called into this Skype call from the public who would like to provide public comment regarding the approval for the COVID-19 CDBG CV1 grant application? Without seeing any, I will close this section of the comment public section of this public hearing with the right to reopen. Council, any thoughts? Anything else?
No further questions.
I think being stuck in where we are for the foreseeable future, this is going to be pretty welcome to the resource centers.
Yep.
Completely agree. All right, thank you very much. I entertain a motion for approval at this point.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the application for CDBG CV1 funds as a consortium with the Town of Friday Harbor as presented by staff today.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for approving the COVID-19 CDBG CV1 grant application in coordination with the Town of Friday Harbor as presented. Any other comments? Without seeing any, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you very much. So it's 9:53. Would you like to take a 10-minute break or keep going on the public hearings?
Let's get the public hearings done.
Yeah.
Alrighty, our next public hearing is to adopt an ordinance revising the 2020 county budget for emergency appropriations, continued from August 18th. Mylene Henley, Auditor. Mylene, are you on the phone or in the Skype call?
I am.
Is there anything you would like to add that may be new?
Yes, there's always something new in the budget. So, the changes made since the last time we spoke was that I made the 2 changes requested last week, which were to maintain a part-time position in the clerk's office and to, what was the other change? Oh, to not reduce the state audit cost by as much as we had hoped. In addition, this morning I was advised of another request to increase the county manager's professional services line item by $20,000 vis-a-vis the current amended budget. The purpose of this would be to get commission a study, a professional study of sales tax in the county so that we can get a better fix on sources and projections of sales tax. It's a good change. I agree with it. And I sent you the documents this morning.
Okay, so that's in then.
That is in the documents I sent you this morning. That is correct.
I hate to do this, but I think that additional, that actually needs to be 25,000 rather than 20,000.
Mr. Thomas?
What do you mean?
If I may, this is Mike. So when I initially looked at the change in admin budget, I erred in looking at the right column. So I thought I had 10,000 left in professional services, but actually it's with the proposed budget change, it was reduced down to 5,000. The project estimate for sales tax is 30,000. So it would be an add of 25,000 to the professional services line to sum to 30,000, which is the estimate that I have for that project.
Well, the change that you're seeing is the change relative to the current budget of 10,000. So we need 20,000 additional to get to the desired 30,000.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. It's confusing. Lots of different numbers running around.
Exactly. All right. So we all agree that it should be 30K. So.
And that will be the number once this is done.
Great. Thank you.
So, any questions?
No.
Nope.
I would comment that on the amendment, on the ordinances itself, there is a place where it says a public hearing was held as required on August 18, because we met last week. I asked John Kane if we should change that in the ordinance, and he said no, that the clerk could just manually add, and on August 25.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Are there any other questions regarding this public hearing? All right. At this point, I will open the public testimony part of this public hearing, which is for revising 2020 county budget for emergency appropriations. Is there anyone who is online or on Skype who would like to public comment at this point? Again, is there anyone who would like to provide public comment for the public hearing to adopt an ordinance revising 2020 county budget for emergency appropriations? Seeing I will close the public comment, public testimony section of this public hearing with the right to reopen. Any other questions from council?
Nope.
All right, at this time, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve an ordinance revising the San Juan County 2020 budget for emergency appropriations, amending ordinances 19-2019, 03-2020, 04-2020, and 05-2020 as modified today.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to approve an ordinance revising the San Juan County 2020 budget for emergency appropriations, amending ordinance 19-2019, 03-2020, 04-2020, and 05-2020 with proposed changes added today. Any further questions?
Nope.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 3-0. Thank you very much.
And Mr. Hughes?
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to recognize the work of all staff that just spent a lot of time. As a pretty fundamental budget amendment that just got passed, and I'd like to thank and recognize the work of all staff that came up with a lot of creative solutions to reduce the current year budget. It's always a heavy lift, so thanks to staff and to the auditor's office for all the work that went into this.
Great, thank you, Mr. Thomas, for bringing that up. I agree and appreciate all the sacrifices and extra work that was put in to help us move forward. So thank you very much for bringing that up.
Yep, I agree.
The next public hearing is to adopt an ordinance revising the 2020 county budget for supplemental appropriations, which is continued from August 18th. And Mylene, I assume that we'd also have the addition of the August 25th part as well by the clerk.
That's correct.
With Mylene Henley, auditor. Mylene.
No change, no substantive changes. I did make a bars code correction on the detail, but nothing substantive.
Mr. Wasser, Mr. Stevens, do you have any comments or questions?
No questions.
All right, at this point, we will go to the public comment, public testimony section of the public hearing on an ordinance revising the San Juan County 2020 budget for supplemental appropriations, amending ordinances 19-2019, 03-2020, 04-2020, and 05-2020, and
the one we just approved.
Zero.
That's right.
All right, so is there anyone on the line who would like to provide public comment? Please unmute yourself, and you would have 3 minutes to state your name. Again, is there anyone who would like to provide public comment or have public testimony regarding this ordinance? Without seeing any, I will close the public comment, public testimony section of this public hearing with the right to reopen. Is there anything else from council?
Nope.
All right. So at this point, I would entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve an ordinance revising the San Juan County 2020 budget for supplemental appropriations, amending ordinances 19-2019, 03-2020, 04-2020, 05-2020, and the one we just approved in the previous public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second for adoption of an ordinance revising the San Juan County 2020 budget for supplemental appropriations, amending ordinances 19-2019, 03-2020, 04-2020, 05-2020, and the ordinance just approved, which I think is 08-2020. Any other comments or questions?
Nope.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Thank you very much to everyone involved. And again, I would echo, I guess, what Mike had said earlier thank you for all the work, all the sacrifices that staff has done in my forward to help us adapt a budget that will hopefully work for 2020, and we will continue working on it for 2021. So thank you very much. Is it all right for council? It's 10:03. If we come back at 10:15, have a short break.
Yep.